Good morning, everyone, and welcome to IGTV. With us is William H. Murray delivering the InfoGuard editorial on Hyperbole. Bill, take it away, please.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole can be defined as extravagant exaggeration, particularly for effect. It's a figure of speech. It belongs on the list with metaphor, simile, allegory, cliche, etc. In security, we prefer literal to figurative speech. Admittedly, literal speech does not sell papers or ads. It does not move the focus from the work of one researcher to that of another. I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating. I wish we could get all the research energy focused on security instead of discovering obscure vulnerabilities. I serve as one of a dozen editors of SANS News Bites. Twice a week, my colleagues and I get a dozen or so headlines, abstracts, and references to current news articles. You'll not be surprised to learn that one of the first things we have to determine is whether the headline is literal or figurative, whether it is intended to inform security or simply call attention to itself. Take, for example, the Tech Spot headline. HP laser printer hack raises concern, millions vulnerable. Billions and billions, Carl Sagan says. Literally true, but figuratively hyperbole. The lead of the article is, researchers from Columbia University have demonstrated a security flaw found in, but perhaps not limited to, HP printers, which can actually lead to fires. Well, also literally true, but figuratively hyperbole. In fact, HP says, no fires. Or this one, dark cloud rising. Cloud services are becoming the attacker's preferred target. With nothing in the article but one or two anecdotes to support this sweeping conclusion. I'm not suggesting that these services are not attractive targets or that they are not vulnerable, but the headline is figurative. It may or may not be literally true. If it is, there is no credible evidence. And again, headline. Hackers prey on smartphone use at work during holidays. Well, it would take only one instance to make this literally true, but the article goes on to say, the real concern going forward is that once connected to a corporate network, there is a risk that phones could steal information previously secured behind a firewall. And smartphone attacks are in their infancy compared to PC hacks. But in our bring your own device to work culture, people are using smartphones for both personal and business use. Well, duh. And attacks on these devices are on the rise. No evidence. Oh, I take that back. There is testimony from Harry Sverdlov, Chief Technology Officer at network security firm Bit9, a firm that provides whitelisting technology. The article may have been prompted by an ISACA survey that it cites, but all the article says is that employees are using their own devices to do work-related tasks. This kind of speculation is not helpful. So far, and in any case, this is a vulnerability without a problem. Android and jailbreaking notwithstanding, a focus on mobile computers is inappropriate. They are no more vulnerable or dangerous than any other employee-owned computer, and far less so than a PC. Focusing on the novel instead of the pervasive, the specific in preference to the general, and the feasible in preference to the practical, may, indeed I say will, result in a misapplication of scarce security resources. Both of these attacks are also examples of the cryptographer's error, the failure to distinguish between feasible and practical attacks. If this is the most useful intelligence that ISACA can extract from their survey, they've wasted our money. The article goes on to say, the real concern going forward is that once connected to a corporate network, there is a risk the phones could steal information previously secured behind a firewall. Well, of course, this statement is true of any device. This risk is not restricted or even related to phones. If I can connect to your network or application, I can generally do it with any device that I choose: Windows, Android, or iOS. As a rule, I will do it the same way I connect to my own or anyone else's system. Now, we have evidence that suggests that enterprise networks are leaking intellectual property at an alarming rate. However, the bait being used to compromise the networks is an attachment to an email, not an app chosen by a user for a mobile device. It is opened at least as often on an enterprise device as on an employee-owned one. Now, if one is worried about leakage of intellectual property, restricting the use of employee-owned mobile devices would be a very inefficient way of dealing with it. Moreover, because such a restriction would address such a tiny portion of the problem, it would not even be effective. Such a technology-based approach would last only until the next oncoming and surprising wave of technology. The real solution is much more prosaic. One must structure and compartment the enterprise network. One must use end-to-end encryption. And when I say end-to-end, I do not mean to the perimeter. I mean all the way to the application. One must layer one's defenses, identify, isolate, and control access to and accountability for sensitive intellectual property. However, while prosaic, this solution is both threat and technology independent. When I was on the Verizon Risk Intel team, we had a service that we called Hyper specifically for dealing with things that sounded really scary. Most of these items we ultimately graded as fact. That is literally true. Only a few got graded as hyperbole. The point is that almost none of them were graded as hot, as serious as it sounds and requiring action. Now, my critics say that I am always and forever downplaying these vulnerabilities and attacks. I'm not. I acknowledge them. I want them fixed. I am, however, trying to rationalize them. I want them understood. I want them fixed in the most efficient manner to get the scarce resource that they deserve, that and nothing more. What I am downplaying is the hyperbole, the hype. I want us focused on the data, not the technology, on broad and efficient protective measures, not the specific and ineffective. Ethical guidance for security professionals includes the following admonition: do not raise unnecessary alarm or give unwarranted comfort. Of course, this would be good advice for the media too. However, it does not sell papers or advertising. Those who would be known as security researchers must learn, be taught, the limits to what they may do to call attention to their findings. They must learn to speak literally, not figuratively, and specifically to avoid hyperbole. Part of our job is to distinguish between hype and actionable intelligence. Our principals value us to the extent that we can tell them the most efficient way to allocate their scarce security resources. It is for our ability to do that we are called professionals and are paid the big bucks. See you next week.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. And yeah, hyperbole. Thank you. I kind of messed that one up. But you know, it's a lot of truth, and it's one of the reasons why we go through the industry reports as well. All right, because in the industry reports every year, we want to know what is the hype, all right, and what is the actual fact. All right, so you know, we're totally on board with you there.
Joe, I think part of what concerns me is that this space seems to encourage more hyperbole than most. You know, the scary things that go bump in the night.
Yeah, I know, and it, as you say, it sells boxes, it sells newspapers and magazines, and you know, web articles and everything else, and it doesn't really address the issue.
Okay.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye.
All right. Thanks again. All righty.